For more on the situation in Xinjiang, we're now joined on the phone by our reporter Xu Zhaoqun, who's now in Urumqi. Hello, Xu Zhaoqun.
Hello.
Tell us what's the latest situation in the city. What's your biggest impression there?
We arrived at the airport at about 5 o'clock this afternoon, and we have to stay there for another 30 or 40 minutes because the traffic to the airport had been stopped. And after that, we tried to find a taxi driver and persuade him to bring us into the city. On the way, we met another taxi driver who is a friend of our driver's. His car was smashed on the windshield, and the glass was totally broken. And he borrowed my telephone, my mobile, to make a phone call to his wife, telling her that he was still safe. He also told us that several cars were destroyed by the gangsters in the city. And then we moved on. When we stopped at a traffic light, a woman hopped into our taxi and asked us to bring her home. She looked so desperate because no public transportation is available at present, and her 4-year-old son was still alone at home. Fortunately, her home is very close to the hotel we booked. Both these two people we met condemned the violence occurring since the day before yesterday, and they hope the government take more measures to ease the current situation as soon as possible. Back to you.
Yeah, the Secretary of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region CPC Committee has delivered a speech on local TV. Can you tell us more details of that speech?
Yes, a bit more. On the way to the city centre, we heard that announcement from the radio, the announcement by Mr. Wang Lechan, the party secretary of the autonomous region, and the local TV also repeatedly broadcast the announcement. He urged the leaders of all organizations in Urumqi and the autonomous region to persuade their people to stay at home in order to avoid large-scale of conflicts in the streets. He promised that all the injured people will be well treated, and the government will try their best to resume normalities for the local people's life as soon as possible. And Wang Lechan also said that more strict measures will be taken if the rioters continue their crime. And meanwhile, the autonomous region government has opened a temporary office to handle the aftermath. Those who were injured or suffered loss of property and the relatives of the people killed in the violence can ask the office for help, for assistance. Back to you.
Thank you, Xu Zhaoqun. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For more on the latest situation, we're joined by our correspondent Liu Ming, who's in Urumqi. Hello, Liu Ming.
Hello, darling.
A curfew has been imposed in Urumqi. What's the situation there now that the curfew has begun?
Well, Party Secretary of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, Wang Lechan, called upon the general public to stay calm and stay at home as possibly as they could. He announced that a curfew would last from 9 p.m. today and also Tuesday until 8 a.m. Wednesday. And all taxis and buses have stopped operation, and we can see very few people out on the street. It seems to be an empty city. I talked to some local residents earlier. They're sad when talking about the victims during the riot and angry about the violence. They say they will stay at home and respond to the call of the government, and some of them say they are still very scared to walk on the street. So most of them are expected to stay at home. They say the psychological trauma left by the July 5th riot is deep and very hard to erase. Zhang.
There are still many uncertainties in the city. What are the major difficulties you are encountering there in your reporting?
Well, the situation in the city of Urumqi is not optimistic. No passers-by on the street, but heavily armed policemen patrolling the street. Although no flights and trains coming into and going out of the city have been suspended, traffic restrictions make people hard to move freely in the city. We live in the downtown area, close to key government organizations. We are asked not to go out to do any reporting outside. We have had no idea so far when the cordon will come to an end. We should have gone to a hospital this afternoon to interview with the injured in the hospital, but the mission was cancelled at the last minute moment due to security concerns. So what we can do now is to wait patiently. Zhang Ling, back
Thank
to
you, Liu Ming. Thank you very much, and take care.
Now, for more on the attacks in Xinjiang, we're now joined on the phone by our reporter Liu Ming, who is in Urumqi. Now, hello, Liu Ming. Can you tell us what the latest situation is?
Oh, all right. Annie, the situation in Urumqi has been escalated, actually. This morning, local government organized a collective interview to a Geely 4S shop where dozens of Geely cars were in wreckage. But in the middle of journalists taking photos and interviewing with local residents, a massive Uyghur people took to the street, mostly girls, boys, and women, complaining about their fathers and husbands having been arrested. Shortly, a troop of policemen was sent to the spot. It took about an hour to dismiss the masses. The situation got worsened, actually, when we went back to a hotel around noon. Many local residents, mostly Han people, held demonstrations on the streets, confronting with Uyghur people. They were very angry about the July 5th violence, in which 156 people have died so far. We should have gone to the hospital in the afternoon for a mass interview with the injured persons in the hospital, but the interview was cancelled due to security concerns. Local authorities took emergency measures to control the situation. In a speech Tuesday afternoon, Party Secretary of Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, Wang Lechuan, called upon the general public to stay calm and stay at home as possibly as they could. He also made an announcement of curfew that the traffic restrictions will last from 9 p.m. today or also Tuesday until 8 a.m. Wednesday. So that's what's going on here in Urumqi.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Liu Ming, who is our reporter in Urumqi.